Okay, now, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic Saturday today. My name is Gertrude, and I'll be your host for this session. Let's get started. Welcome to today's event, whereby we will get to know the people behind the Hisa platform. In the meantime, I'd like to know, can you hear me? Kindly confirm that you can hear me and maybe share where are you joining us from this wonderful afternoon? Where are you joining us from? Kindly let me know in the comment section below. Awesome. Leah, yes, awesome. Thank you, Leah, for confirming that you can hear me. Um, Kimodo is joining us from Dakar. Thank you so much, Kimodo, for letting us know where you're joining us from this wonderful afternoon. So, in today's session, this is what we will go through. In today's agenda, a welcome and an introduction to today's live, which I have done. Yes, today we are getting to know the people behind the HISA platform. We will share a brief history of HISA, and you get to meet the team behind the platform. We'll also have a Q&A session whereby we will start by answering the questions that you shared via the sign-up form, and finally, the closing remarks. Okay, all right. As we give the others just one more minute so that we can get started. Kevin, hi. Willis, awesome. You can hear me. Kelvin from Nyeri, awesome. Thank you for joining us, Kelvin. Isaac, so sorry. Yes. Lewis from Nairobi. Isaac from Kiambu, awesome. Thank you for joining us. Kamal from Ukraine, awesome. Edward from Nairobi. Tony from Nigeria. Tayosi from Lagos. Awesome, awesome. We have a full house today. Um, Evans from Eldoret here in Kenya. That's wonderful. Um, because of time, we'll simply get started. The others can join us as we proceed. And we will get started with knowing what is the history behind HISA, what led to the creation of this platform. Okay, we'll read the other uh, responses later. So, a brief history of HISA. HISA started as one intern's frustration. Yes, it was started out of frustration. This is after this intern waited 6 months just to buy his shares, despite working at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. For those of us who are new to the investing scene here in Kenya, that Nairobi Securities Exchange is our local Kenyan stock market. This investment process was slow, filled with so much paperwork and out of reach for many. Determined to change this intern envisioned a faster, more accessible stock market, and he set out to build it. This vision became reality with the help of his co-founder. Investors, I give you the founding team. Number one, Eric Asuma, the visionary who sought out to make investing accessible. And number two, Eric Jackson, the engineer who built the infrastructure. Stephen, kindly mute. Stephen Mwaura, kindly mute. Okay, so after this person had this visionary, Stephen, kindly mute. So fast forward 2021, the Capital Markets Authority gave a vote of no objection to the launch of Hisa app, bringing US stocks to the Kenyan investors. 2022, Hisa expanded to include Kenyan stocks. 2023, the platform introduced CFDs in partnership with Ingot Brokers. Fast forward 2024, Hisa became a member of, not a member, Hisa became part of the Rice Technology Group, making a new chapter in its journey. Yes, I am so sorry, I'm getting distracted. Steven, kindly mute. Am I the only one? And just like any business, Hisa has faced pivotal decisions along the way, each one shaping its future. Now, just 4 months after joining Rice Technology Group, we'll hear from the CEO and co-founder on what's next for Hisa. With over 30,000 investors on board, as at now, this is just the beginning. The future of investing is here with us. Okay, now let's get into the second section of this. Yes, let's get into the second section of this session, whereby we will meet the team behind Hisa. We'll get started with the Kenyan team, headed by our head of operations. Leah, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this town hall. I am Leah Wakariman Joroge. So I do head operations at Hisa, and I'm pleased to meet all of you today and to hear from you. Welcome.
Awesome. Now we hear from the CS lead.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining today. I'm Beverly Mwangi, the CS lead at Hisa.
Okay, now, and I am Gertrude Njeri, your community manager, but over on the community side, you know me as Miss Ngugi. So I am your community manager and I'll be your host for the session today. So at Hisa, I wear multiple hats. I head the research team, oversee our social media efforts, and run training sessions to ensure our community, that is you, makes informed investment decisions. I also work very closely with the engineering and customer service teams, helping to solve challenges and improve your experience on the platform. Above all, my goal is to make sure you, our incredible community, stays informed, engaged, and empowered in your investment journey. I'm excited to be here today, and I can't wait for us to dive into what's next for Hisa. Now let's hear from the research team, the people behind the updates. Okay. We'll start with Toyosi. Toyosi and the team, kindly.
Hey, okay, I'm all set.
Blessing, maybe you can go first. Omefe. Okay, as we give the research team some time, we can just head on over to the engineering team. Tola and your team, kindly introduce yourselves so that we can proceed.
Okay, thank you very much, Gertrude. Good afternoon, people. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adetola Abiodun. I work on the mobile app at Hisa as a mobile engineer.
Okay, next.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nuruddin Lawal, and I work on the web app for Hisa. Happy to have you guys here.
Awesome. Next.
Hi everyone. My name is Ola. I'm the product manager for Hisa. It's good to have you all here.
Okay, now next. There's a request that the individuals, our investors would like to see your faces. So maybe you can just, yeah, say hi and show your face. So people want to see you.
All right. So, Gertrude, do we just go again?
Yeah, it's fine. Just say hi while your video is on.
Okay. Well, I hope you can see me now. So I'm Nuruddin Lawal once again, and I work on the web app for Hisa.
Okay, thank you, Nuruddin. Next.
Yeah, okay, good afternoon once again. Apologies, it's pretty dark here. National grid problems in Nigeria, so bear with me. So it's pretty dark on my hand, right? So, like I said, my name is Abitola Abiodun, and I work as a mobile engineer with Hisa. Thank you.
Okay, nice. Next person, please. Okay, as the rest of the, okay, continue.
Hi everyone. My name is Ola. I'm the product manager for Hisa. I'm good to have you all here.
Awesome, thank you, Orla. Next person, please. Okay, maybe as the rest of the engineering team prepares to introduce themselves, we can go back to the research team. TSC and you team, kindly, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. Sorry, my network was acting up, and my video can be on. I think it's affecting my network. But hi everyone. I'm TSC from Lagos, Nigeria, and together with my fellow members, we work on like carrying out research for the content to put out. So yeah, just like much more informed investors, and then identify like good investment opportunities that you can take advantage of. So really excited to be here. Thank you once again.
Great. Blessing? Blessing or Omefe, you can go first.
All right, everyone. My name is Omoife Orobato. I am a research analyst at Hisa, and I'm very glad to be here.
Great. Next. Okay, we can move on to the rest of the engineering team. Asaro? Okay, now we can move on to the rest of the team. Just a minute. Eric, the floor is yours.
Hello? You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Eric. I'm one of the founders of Hisa from Nairobi here. Good to meet you, everyone, and happy to, answer any questions. But just to add a little bit into what Leah said, we started off Hisa not because we wanted to build a business, but because from our own experience, I wanted to invest. And when I wanted to invest, there wasn't a proper solution to, help me get started on investing in a much faster and easier way. And I thought it's good if I put together a team that can help me, achieve this particular mission. And it's been, fantastic 4 years. We're in the business. Myself and my partners, we are very supportive investors in the business. Till when I thought, given that we needed to scale it, fix a lot of the engineering issues, a lot of technical issues, and grow it beyond just the founders, I thought it was extremely important to bring on board, to partner with the RISE team so that, they could help take ISA forward. And at the time, because I'd known the RISE West team for a while, given what they were doing on the West African bit, they naturally, and given that we had a relationship, it became a bit natural because at the time when we ran Hisa, we needed to scale, we needed to offer the users better services, better customer service, and that's why we thought it would be important to partner with the RISE team to take Hisa to the next level. So I'm still involved in the business. So I'm also involved in other things, but I'm still involved on the Hisa side, guiding them on strategy. Ideally on the strategy side, and going forward. I mean, we are working on some interesting new things that I'm sure Gertrude, Leah, and the team will be able to share with you guys. But happy to take any questions after. Thanks.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Eric, for making the time to be here with us. As you've heard it from the founder, the purpose was not to make money, but rather to make the stock market accessible for everyone. Now, let's move on to the most anticipated session of this event, whereby you will get to ask your questions. But first, we will start with the questions that you sent in while you were signing up for this event. We will start by answering the questions directed towards the CS team. Yes. So here we are. Beverly, kindly take the floor. Questions for the CS team. Our CS lead will take us through.
Okay. So let's start. Let's start with the first question. How does the platform address its glitches concerning payments? So currently, I know most of you know that we've been facing an issue with the M-Pesa prompt for in-app deposits to your default wallet and FIB wallet. We were able to resolve this issue yesterday. Now you can deposit your funds directly from the app and it will reflect. We're still working on resolving the M-Pesa prompt for FIB wallet. I think that addresses that question. Our engineering team, I think, will explain further how they are resolving the issue with the FIB wallet in-app deposits. How safe is the platform from cyber attack? I'll let the engineering team take that question. They're best placed to explain about the system. How important are the employees to the growth of the platform? All employees are really important. Basically, without Miss Ngugi and you guys reaching out to her DMs, some of your issues will have not been addressed, as well as you guys reaching out to CS and us engaging the tech team to solve some of your issues. I believe everyone is of importance, as well as the research team. Without them, you wouldn't have been receiving updates about the weekly recommendation stocks. And some of you normally come personally and ask questions about a specific stock, which normally our research team are the ones who handle and give us insights on the specific stocks. So as well as finance, the people who maybe use the pay bill option to deposit their funds or processing withdrawals, the finance team normally help with that. So I believe everyone is of importance. So the next question, there's been several complaints experienced, or someone quotes, experienced it myself regarding delay in execution of stocks, buys, and sales on the app. Is there anything being worked on to resolve this issue? I believe this is in regards to the Kenyan stocks, because most, at the moment, the current status of the orders is not changing. Most times, if you place an order, if you're buying or if you sell, the status still remains as pending. Our engineering team is still working on that. The next question is, will the change affect my investments? Do I need to resubscribe to Hisa app? So this question is a bit difficult because I don't understand which changes. Is it like the new partnership? But if it's in regards to the partnership, so then it does not affect your investments. We still have the same brokers, FIDA Investment Bank as our local broker and DriveWealth as our international broker. The only thing that's changed is just the management. But other than that, everything remains the same. Do I need to resubscribe to the Hisa app? No, you do not. How can I start investing with Hisa? These are for the new users who maybe have not downloaded the app. So all you need to do is sign up. Once you've entered your details, then after you've logged into the app, you'll just go through the KYC process. Then once your account is verified, you deposit the funds. If you don't have a CDS account, we'll open for you a CDS account. Then you'll be able to trade both Kenyan stocks and US stocks. Next question. I would like to know how to set up my account as well as, so that I can start trading on Hisa. So most users at the moment, their accounts, or rather who have signed up, their accounts are not verified. And it's mostly because of your address details. People do not enter the right address details. So you'll find maybe the street, someone writes Nairobi, and maybe the estate, someone writes Nairobi. Those are not the correct details that you're supposed to enter. And I'll just give an example to maybe someone who wants to set it up properly. If you maybe live in Buruburu and the road maybe is Mumias Road, so the street name should be Mumias Road, then the estate should be Buruburu, then Nairobi as a city, then Nairobi as a county, then the postal code. That's the correct way. If you write Nairobi on every other detail, Nairobi under your street name, Nairobi under your estate, then your account will not be verified. Also, some users have not uploaded their ID, which is really important. You need to upload your ID to be able to verify your account, as well as your tax document, which is your KRA PIN. So those are the three main, I think, details for setting up your account. So we'll go to the next question. Curious to know why the onboarding process does not go through. I think I've already explained this. Mostly it's normally because of your address, or maybe you've not uploaded your ID, or maybe your KRA PIN. The changes, okay, that's the same question. Let's go. I think this is the last question that I've not answered. I seem stuck when it comes to investing. Curious to know, will the change affect my investment? Do I need to resubscribe to his app? That's the same question as the previous one, so I've already answered that. I seem stuck when it comes to investing in ETFs and offshore stocks. The initial wallet funding I made and tried to invest didn't go through. I haven't made any additional top up. How does one? Okay. So there are some users who place an order. Let's say an example, maybe you're buying Tesla and you already have the funds in your wallet, but the order is not executed and the money is deducted. So in such situations, I'd recommend you to just reach out either on email or on WhatsApp. And then we normally check on our Drive Wealth. If the order was not executed, then we now have to reach out to finance to initiate a refund because the order was not executed. It's not on a portfolio. So that's how we go about such incidents. I think that's basically it for my questions.
Okay, thank you, Beverly. There's a question on the chat. From Evans, who's asking, enlighten the transaction costs.
Okay, so for for global stocks, it's normally 1% when you're buying and selling. So that's the transaction we normally charge. For Kenyan stocks, if you're supposed to be mapped once you've created an account with us. So the transaction cost should also be 1% as well, both buying and selling.
Okay, there we have it. Hisa charges 1%. Okay, yes, yes, you can take it.
Barrow, why must we write emails to get money after selling stocks? Is it like the withdrawing request, or is it the issue with settlements not reflecting? Because if it's withdrawals, so for Kenyan stocks, one has to write an email because we've not yet automated the system of how to request for withdrawals as you normally do for default wallets. We'll add that to the next update, of course. What is the minimum amount you're required to start investing? So for Kenyan stocks, the amount depends on the stocks that you're buying, but the minimum amount of shares that you're supposed to buy is 100. For global stocks, you can invest from as low as $1. What's the maximum amount to withdraw cash from global wallets? Okay, there's no limit. I believe there's no limit. Maybe finance can take that question, but there's a limit for M-Pesa withdrawals. So if it surpasses maybe 100K, we normally prefer to withdraw the funds to your bank account. So we'll maybe reach out to you and request for your bank details, then we process your withdrawal. Someone saying you never read the second question. How safe is the investment in the platform? Well, I think I mentioned this. The tech team will take up this question. I believe they're the perfect people to explain about the system and how safe the system is. I think that's it.
Okay. There's also another one, Beverly, before you go.
Okay.
What has the partnership done for customer service within Hisa so far?
So the partnership, what it's done for CS, we were able to, or rather we now have, how will I call it? We now were able to come up with a CRM system we normally use. So with the new partnership, it becomes easier to track the inquiries that people normally send via email. If an issue is pending, we just now put it as pending and we come back if the issue is resolved. And we're able to at least track and see which user issue was pending and reach out to them and maybe inform them and update them if the issue has been resolved. Or if it's taking a bit of time, then we'll still reach out in regards to the same. So yeah, and
Bev, I think I can also just add a little bit more details. So ideally, the whole goal of us partnering with RiceVest was to take Hisa to another level. For the last few months after the acquisition, there was some transition. So ideally, transitioning the team, the tech from Hisa's previous team to Rice team. That process has taken a bit longer than we had expected. But the beauty is that the Rice team invested more resources. Ideally, that means in the next few weeks, you should see a new, better app, much better, updated, a lot of those things updated. And the app made a bit easier than it is at the moment. So I think the most significant thing is that the team is still doing a bit of the transition, so still in progress. So that's why, you might while you trade, you might get some issues, but the beauty is that they put in a proper engineering team. They are redoing the entire app, fixing most of those issues. When they update and switch onto the new app, those particular issues should reduce significantly. But so far, I think that's what you should expect in the next few weeks once they have done the transition and the new app is updated. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric, for that clarification. Beverly, thank you so much. I believe we can go to the second set of questions. This time we will go to the questions directed to the research and training team, which I will take most of the questions. Just a minute. Yes. So before I get started, for the new investors, last year we had a series of training webinars whereby we shared how you can navigate the Hisa app. So for anyone who's new to the platform, you don't understand how to buy stocks, what is the requirement, etc. I would advise you to first start with our YouTube channel, whereby we have shared those videos. From that, in the second quarter of this year, we will have training for intermediate investors. So most of these questions we'll tackle there, but I'll give a brief answer to each one. So stay tuned for the second quarter of this year. We will have more training for the intermediate investors. For beginners, head on over to our YouTube channel. There's a playlist there dedicated for you. For example, that question about the minimum investment for each market, we have shared all that in that playlist. So head on over there. So elaborate more on ETFs and the US stock market. Yes, on the Hisa app, you can access US stocks as well as ETFs. And the main difference between US stocks and ETFs is that for ETFs, this is a group of stocks. For example, you can invest in 500 of the best companies in the US stock market by investing in the S&P 500 ETF. More on that in that training. However, we put out so much content on our channels, on our social media platforms. And so stay tuned. We'll share more on this as well as before the Q2 training sessions. How to invest in shares and how to recover CDS account, benefits of investing in shares. A brief answer. You can invest in shares both in the Kenyan stock market and US stock market through the Hisa app. So step number one, download the app, create the necessary accounts. For the Kenyan side, after your account is verified, then you can request for a CDS account, which is a requirement when investing in Kenyan shares. The team will create one for you within 48 hours, after which you are free to start investing in Kenyan shares. Benefits of investing in shares, there's so many, but I'll just mention two. One, you get dividends. For example, yesterday KPLC paid its investors dividends. So that's one benefit of investing in shares. Another one is capital appreciation, whereby you buy shares at a low price and wait for them to increase in price and sell, the difference being your profit. There we have it. Delve more on how to invest in different index funds. So one way that you can invest in index funds is by investing in ETFs that track these index funds. More on that in the training in Q2. Can one trade ETFs on the app? Yes, that's a definite yes. There are plans to introduce a USD money market funds. I'll leave that question to our COO, Claire. Maybe you can take that up. Claire, do we have any plans on that front?
Yes, we do have plans to introduce a USD money market fund. It's coming up. I can see people are saying that there's a lot of promises more than what we've delivered, and I do see the frustration. But one thing we can say is we're definitely working on building a better product, and building this also does require us to put in a lot of effort as we still try to maintain what we have and trying to ensure that whatever we still have is not always lagging behind. So ideally, that's why you can see there's a lot of promises, but we assure you, for real, we're actually working on a better app that will even have more features. We'll have all the things that you've been asking for. We've seen the MMFs, we've seen the additional stock markets, we've seen interest earning wallets, we've seen all these things, and we are going to implement all this. So what we are doing right now is building the product, and we're trying to build a better product than what we currently have. So that is why there is a lot of more. We are doing this, we are doing that, but we do assure you there's going to be a better app. So I think Gertrude, you can continue until when it's time for me to answer my questions. I think I'll talk more about it.
It's okay. Okay. There you've had it. There are plans to do so. Marketing strategies in terms of the company or what? That question is not clear. Commission prices on Hisa, as Beverly has stated, we charge 1% when you buy and sell shares. However, there are other charges on the Kenyan side, taxes, but this amounts to 1.34%, one of the lowest charges that you'll find in the Kenyan stock market. Yeah, most range between 1.6 to 2%. We have the lowest. Investment avenues that don't require huge capital. The US stock market on Hisa, with only $1, you can start investing in US stocks and ETFs. More to come later. ETFs hedging. This specific question we'll cover in Q2 when we are training. Why can't traders in Kenya have access to after hours or pre-market trading? Okay, the thing is, on the app, on the Hisa app, you can place your orders even when the market is closed. So on Hisa, you can place your orders anytime, whether the market is open or not. Once the market opens, the order will be executed. Future plans, Leah will tackle that. How to invest in ETFs. Step 1, create an account on Hisa, get it verified, fund your wallet, and start buying. Okay, do you hold either virtual or physical meetings to help your clients who are not familiar with investing on how to invest and use the Hisa app? Yes, we do, and we recently concluded one such training. You can find it on our YouTube channel. More to come, we will announce on our socials and also community section. Okay, all right, 5 best dividend yielding shares that can consistently earn investors 15 to 20% return on investment in Kenya. We shared the dividend stocks with the highest dividend yield for 2024. You can find that on our community section or yes, on our socials, and stay tuned for more to come. Can see the other one. Okay, commission prices on Hisa. We've tackled that. What are the best US stocks to invest in? How to invest? We've tackled that. We often share a lot of content, a lot of information on a daily, weekly basis on our socials, as well as on our community section. If you're not a member, request. We'll share our contact details towards the end of this session. I want to invest in different sets of portfolios, most of all foreign stocks, and at the same time, local stocks. I'm a beginner. How do I do it? Step 1, create an account on Hisa, get it verified, utilize the resources that we create for you. If you don't understand what the stock market is, join our community. Our community is very open to sharing information and guiding. One thing I love most about our community is that we share a lot. So just join and you'll learn a lot. Also, Q2, we have the training sessions for intermediate investors. How to find the best ETFs, we'll discuss that later. Best investment strategies, we'll discuss that as well. The lessons and so forth. I believe that's it for the research questions. Yeah, maybe we can just move on to the COO questions. There.
Hey, Gertrude. I wanted to point out that I'm on the call now. And for everyone listening, my name is AK Oram. I'm the founder of Rise. And my apologies for joining late because it's currently 6:30 a.m. where I am. However, I'm here because the feedback that we're receiving from you all is very important to us. I've already responded to some people on the chat that we're trying to make sure that we tackle some of the issues that customers are experiencing. But we already knew from day one that the real solution would be for us to build the app from scratch, right? And so the context that you're sharing, the issues that you have are being, we're taking notes of them so that when we build the new version of Hisa, which is expected by the second half of this year, that it's going to address pretty much all these issues. All right. So I just wanted to register my presence and ask you all to please bear with us. I know it's taking a little bit of time, maybe longer than we anticipated, but that's because, there's a lot of moving parts that we're trying to manage. And also, when you're making changes to an app that is actively being used, you also want to be careful so that you don't, break too many things, or you don't, ruin the current experience of those who are using the product. But we have a new version of the app in development. We're fine tuning it. And more importantly, we're also bringing in some really new additions. There's one of the tools that I'm really excited about because it simplifies your research process on Hisa. So typically, a lot of apps like ours, they don't really do too much on the research side. You come in and you trade, but you do your own research. And that's still going to be true even in the new version. However, we're going to introduce a tool where you can do some research on the app. You can ask some questions. You can search for certain stocks or try and do some basic analysis that will help guide your trading. And that's something new that we're going to introduce. So there's a lot more of this. And again, as you share your feedback to us, we're going to take those into account and build out the new version of Hisa so that you guys can finally get back to, actually enjoying your experience on Hisa. So that's all I wanted to say. Shout out to my team. I appreciate you guys for carrying on this conversation. I'm going to go back to mute, but I'm in here in case anyone needs to ask me any questions specifically. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, AK. Before we go on to the CEO and COO questions, we'll get started with the engineering questions directed to the engineering team. Uche?
Okay, thank you, Gertrude. So hi, everybody. I'm looking at a whole lot of questions and concerns from you all regarding the engineering side of things at Hisa. So I'm going to take the first question, which is why the app is still buggy and unreliable despite under new capable management. Okay, so just like Eka said, some of these issues, were already existing, before the takeover, and I have to say that from an engineering point of view, the design, the system design, architecture, and the way things were implemented on the back end did not really follow the best practices in engineering. So when we came on board, we are currently trying to, implement or redesign what has already been done, which is causing all those bugs and issues. And we just can't, push them all out at once because the app is currently in active use. And if we do that, we're literally going to introduce breaking changes. And this is going to lead to what would I say now? It's going to lead to some sort of fear and doubt regarding the integrity and stability of the application. So we are releasing those fixes in stages, and so far so good. We've been able to implement some of those changes, and there is some sort of improvement, but we are still fixing things at the back end. The other one is, why does the stop loss and take profit not work after I set it during the purchase of, and even after buying the stock? Okay, so currently the application has about 4-5 services that is currently powering the Hisa backend itself. So now, like I said before, implementation was not really did not follow best engineering practices. So that's why you would notice that when you try out a feature today, it works well, and then a couple of days or some weeks later, it doesn't work well. So it's all about poor design. So, but currently we have fixed some of those issues, and we can assure you that in the coming weeks you're literally going to see an improved system. All right. Then why does this SMS OTP work on only some occasions? So we had this issue with the SMS provider. So this is literally what most engineers face in this field. So providers would make a new break or implement some breaking changes on their own end, and they would never or they probably forget to notify their users that there's been like a breaking change or something. Now the vendor we are using changed the way SMS is being sent via the gateway, and they did not notify us. So that was the reason the whole OTP issue happened. So when we now had to write to them to try to understand what is going on, that was when they told us that what we're using is currently not there's been a change in how they send or accept SMS from their users. So we had to update on our end and implement those fixes. So currently issues regarding sending OTP via SMS, I believe we've been able to solve that. But if you're still experiencing issues sending OTP, please you can always reach out to us, and we will definitely get to work. Then why is there usually delay or need for constant consulting of the customer support each time we sell a stock or withdraw cash from the app, or sometimes even when depositing? Okay, so so now again, I think the core issue here is design and the way things were implemented. There was a plan to actually automate things at the back end, but it was not really completed before the handover, all right, or before the acquisition by Rise. So the implementation is there, but it was not properly done and completed. So if we rush, for example, you need to understand why something was done, and the reasons why that particular design was implemented, and then you try to actually use the best practice, in order to solve that particular problem. So if we rush to fix and then ship, there's going to be breaking changes, and we don't want to have that. All right. So for the deposit and for the direct deposit, that was an issue with M-Pesa. Again, the same thing with the same issue with providers. I mean, when there's a breaking change, they don't kind of notify their users that we have made changes, and that you need to also update whatever SDK or library you're using, so that your systems are at sync with what they have on their own end. So we've actually fixed the deposit. The withdrawal, like I said, the automations were added, but then it wasn't completely implemented. We've also fixed that, and we just encourage you to always reach out to us if you have issues. All right. So we will always resolve them as quickly as possible. So recently not able to make deposit. I believe I've answered that question. Crypto. So there is a plan for crypto, but it hasn't been, again, like I said, the designs are there, implementation was not completely done. So it's something, okay, Eke wants to say something, so I'll pause.
Yeah, I wanted to add some. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I wanted to add some explanation to what Uche said, because someone was mentioning that if we could be more specific about some of those best practices we said were not followed, right? And so let me give a few examples, just so that you guys maybe have a better sense of what we're saying. So the first thing I want to point out is these are not things that affect the actual functionality of you buying a stock or selling a stock, or impacts the funds that you're putting into Hisa, right? No, it's more so there's a practice for how you build a back end, especially when there are going to be multiple users, or multiple engineers working on it, right? And so prior to now, when we are again acquired, so because again, I want to point out that it's not things that mean, okay, why did you guys acquire the product if you don't think it's great? Like, the offerings are great, the users and what you can do on the Hisa app is great, but things like when you are building a back end, or when you're building a product that has multiple moving parts, one of the best practices is to host um, different services in a different cluster, or different what we use microservices in terms of the backend infrastructure, so that you can make changes to one part of the product without affecting other parts of the product. That's one of the things that we're doing differently. Another thing is, for instance, there are certain codes that you have to add comments. This is what this code does, or these are all the repositories or the different areas of the app that this code affects. So that when someone is going to make any change to that code, they also have to know all the different areas to go and test, to ensure that everything is still working normally, right? So if you don't have those comments, then sometimes you don't know all the areas that the changes you make might impact. So you then have to make changes slowly, because you make a change, you test, see does anything break before you roll it out or put it into production. So, but now when we're introducing that process where when you write code, you put comments, you add pointers to this is what this code does, these are the places it affects, so that anybody can come in and read your code and see what's going on and make changes or test those changes most easily. So this is something that, again, was not necessarily being done before. And because of that, we have to go slowly with some of those changes that we want to introduce, because we have to look at how does everything work and how is everything linked. It might look simple on the front end, but so many services that are running concurrently without a significant separation and without enough structured code, means that if you go in and just start making changes, like what Uche talks about, breaking changes, that is changes that you roll out and several services stop working, and then it impacts users even worse. So those are the things we want to avoid. I know it might not be 100% specific to what you want to hear, but it gives you a sense of the kind of change we're making post acquisition. We are redesigning the code base, we are introducing better practices for engineering, and then we're trying to make it a system so that it can become a bit more plug and play, and multiple people can work on it without having to rely only on one person's context to drive those changes. So that's some example of what we are trying to achieve here. And I think the final thing I want to say, so for instance, when you have APIs, so I don't know how many people in the room are engineers or very familiar with engineering, but we're going to assume, let me try and simplify this because I myself, I'm not an engineer, but I've had to absorb context from my engineers. So some of the services we operate rely on connection between us and other people's systems. And those connections happen through APIs, right? So when those people, the third parties, make changes to their API, so our system says, okay, when I want to fetch information, this is the endpoint to reach out to and get this data. Now, if they make changes to their own endpoints without notifying us, when our system needs to fetch your data, for instance, the SMS, to trigger an SMS, and our system calls that API, but then because something has changed, nothing happens. We might not know, that their own end has changed until you are having problems generating your SMS, and then you call us and say, "Oh, I can't get my SMS." Then we follow the endpoint and say, "Okay, this is where it's supposed to trigger," and then we push it or we send a call and nothing happens. Then we contact the third party and say, "What happened? This is not functioning." They're like, "Oh, we changed this and moved that endpoint elsewhere, and now we have to update those changes." So again, normally it should be that whenever a change is made to the APIs, we get a callback or we get some kind of notification, right? But some of those things were not structured properly. So that's also a challenge that we're dealing with. So again, this is just my attempt at maybe bringing it a bit more closer to home, but also to let you guys know it's nothing that affects the value of Hisa or the integrity of the offerings. It's mostly what we call housekeeping, better housekeeping, so that things are much smoother and therefore changes can then be made in a much more straightforward way. So Uche, please continue.
All right. Thank you, AK. So I believe he AK kind of like broke it down really well. So I can see someone saying too much technical conversation. So but I'll try as much as possible to speak in layman's terms as possible. So I thought another question is downtime of the app. Okay, he said why is his app dysfunctional? Okay, so it's not, the app is not dysfunctional per se. Like I said, it's just a matter of like AK explained earlier, like implementation, how things were implemented. All right. So, and you know that when you have like a new acquisition and you're trying to actually improve on some certain features from an engineering perspective, there's definitely going to be a little bit of breaking changes, but so far we've been able to manage it properly. So the app is not dysfunctional, just some bugs, that we have tried as much as possible to, fix. Then the downtime of the app. Why is your USD exchange rate higher than the banks? Uh, uh, I think this is a question for the for Leah or Gertrude. But currently we have just one brokerage provider that provides us with market data. All right. So again, we run like an asynchronous architecture where we you know create jobs to fetch data from the brokerage provider. So again, provider problems. It could be sometimes the provider would update features on their own end, or they may be experiencing technical problems and they would not update us in time. So now when we have those jobs run like to fetch data from the brokerage providers, and then the data is not up to date, that's when you get to see all these issues. But of course, when it happens, we just sometimes have to manually, update that market data on our side. I hope this answered your question. If you can drop more context if it didn't, all right? Then what else again? Yes, the app has some errors which may cause error when buying shares. The internal working of the app, especially when it's automated versus manual. I really don't get this question. Kindly address your system which is fueled by glitches and delays. Okay, I believe I've answered this question. The issue of application reliability. So again, we are, fixing all the issues that you have raised, and we are releasing them, in phases. We do not want to, release or put out so many fixes that may cause breaking changes. All right. So the app is reliable, is secured. This I can assure you. So there's no issues. There's nothing to worry about on that end. Is it possible to fully automate and make all transactions real time in Hisa, except trading during market close? Okay, market close, of course, definitely. A matter of fact is part of the changes that we have already implemented. All right, so this will be rolled out by next week. Yes, I can assure you about of that feature coming up. So um, um, we have automated like some of the issues that you complained about. For example, the withdrawals itself, right? FIB, uh, uh, the direct withdrawals as well. So that feature will be released, next week, and then you can give us feedback on your experience. How do you plan on sorting out issue of constant bugs on the app, wallets crediting delays, real-time retailing amount? I believe I've also retailing amount of different stocks and providing more stock tickers on Hisa. All right, so one of the good things or the advantages or the advantage of Hisa merging with Rise is that at Rise we have access to like one of the best brokerage providers, so that can provide that literally give us access to more market data. All right, so this we have also implemented on the back end. So again, from next week you will see an improvement on market, specifically on the stock tickers. All right, so we have access to two new top-notch brokerage providers. So next week you're going to see an improvement on that feature. Bugs in the app, details about development team. Actually has some challenges, regular crashes, delays in dividends, reflection, etc. Okay, in comparison to competitors like Cheaper. Okay, so I think I've answered this question. So by next week, we're rolling out some new features or improved features on the current Hisa app. So So do well to share your experiences when you see these features. Then when are you going to upgrade the website so it stops glitching and is user friendly? So for the website, currently our web team are working on cleaning up some bugs and how things were implemented as well. So we also tidying up the web application itself, that is the user web application, so you get like improved experience, like the mobile version, but like with an improved experience, right? So we're also working on the website of the application, the website of the application. Sorry, I said I would like to know why the app is very unstable and recently it's not available on App Store. So for the I believe I answered question on the stability part of the application. I would I think for the App Store issue, I think AK would be the best position to give you insight regarding this question.
What's the question on the App Store?
Yes, for the iOS version of the application.
Okay, I'm trying to see the specific question though. That's
okay. The question is, I would like to know why the app is very unstable and it's not available on
recently
App
it's not available on App Store.
Yes.
All right. So we had a conversation yesterday actually regarding the App Store issues. Some of it, to be sincere, is, again, I'll classify them all under housekeeping. So we're moving the hosting of the app, transferring them from the previous holders over to like the new entity we've set up, obviously, for Hisa. Some of the housekeeping is still ongoing. Even though we closed the acquisition last year, the truth is that changes happen slowly. It took us probably the first month just to gather all the context. So we closed this around September-ish, I believe, last year. It took us the first month just to gather context on all the things that we have to do, the whole process of transferring all the assets over to Rise. And then implementation really started by like late October. So most of the things that you're seeing now in terms of whether it's engineering changes, bug fixes, even in-house, like transferring the contracts with FIDA over to our entity, all of that is still happening now. So changes happen slowly. And in this case, once all these transfers are done, for instance, for us to roll out a new version of the app, it has to be hosted differently. So that's some of the things you guys are seeing right now. To the best of our knowledge, or what we've been trying to achieve this whole time, is to roll out these changes without disrupting existing users' experience, right? So that's the much I can say. We'll still see issues come up here and there as we make these transfers, but eventually, give it another month max, things should stabilize. All the hosting issues will be transferred over. Now we can start rolling out new versions of the app on a more consistent basis. So um, any specific incident, keep in mind also that even though, yes, I'm in charge of the team, I'm not in charge of like every single detail. So some of it is really stuff that is still happening over right now. Even so, yesterday I had an update. We applied to Apple. We want to change the hosting. Um, I didn't know that it was now no longer available. But again, I know that that's part of the process of them transferring it. So give it a day or two, it should be back. Or there will be a new version of the app that will then come back to the App Store. So that's as much as I can say for now. I don't know if that makes sense to you, to the person that asked at least.
Yeah, I think that answers the question. But if you need more, if you need more context or you want to drop more context, please, you can do that on the comment section.
Yeah, since I also have the mic, I know we're kind of skipping the order a little bit. And to the person that said we appreciate the transparency, thank you, because we believe that the more information, the more context you have on what we're doing and how we're going about it, the better you understand, what is happening on your end. So, but there are some questions that were asked that I already noted down. Someone asked, if I think they said are their investments insured or protected if the app crashes without recovery, right? So I noted that down because it's an important question for a user. And the answer is yes, your funds are 100% safe. Don't forget that the investments you make, the money you push in, is settled with FIDA, right? So it flows through Hisa, but it settles with FIDA. They are the custodian. And then on the investment side, your investments are then made through either Drive Wealth on the US side or still FIDA on the local end. So the app is there to facilitate your experience, but even though we do not anticipate, although we don't believe that there will be any issue that will make the app crash without recovery, we don't see how that might happen. But even if that happened, you're still fine, right? The institutions that we are partnering with, the changes we are making is to ensure that those guys continue to, provide the actual investments or the settlement. They're the ones that actually hold the assets on your behalf. So the app is there to make sure that your experience is great. And again, when we introduce the changes, the improvements on the app, you have a better experience, but the funds will still be managed by either DriveWorks or some other provider on the US side, FIDA or some other provider on the local side. So you don't have anything to worry about when it comes to whether your funds are safe or not. The second is someone said, we talked about some new features we're introducing, and that, can we be specific about those? So I'll give you a few examples. First thing we want to deliver is a smoother user experience. Before we talk about the new this, you can do this, you can do that. The very first fundamental thing is the user experience needs to be smoother and more intuitive. That is, you see the interface and you know immediately this is what's happening with my stocks. These are the actions I can take. And then faster execution. If you place a trade, it goes through, right? If you ask load a chart, it loads immediately. Those are the fundamental, user experience issues that we must master first. And then we know that I already mentioned that we have now an investment analysis tool that will simplify your research experience. It doesn't mean that all your research will not happen inside HISA, because it's not really researching stocks is complex. So we cannot build all the infrastructure for stock research. However, we can make the one that we can introduce, we can make it simpler. So you want to get an earnings report. Okay, this stock announced earnings last week. What did they say? What are the main points? Or what is their last growth rate? Or, things like just basic questions you can ask about a stock and get answers within the application within a short notice. That's the second thing we're introducing. We're definitely introducing some money market features because we know that people are not just interested in stocks, right? So we're going to roll out some money market products to also give you more options of what to invest in within the app. Another thing we also know we're going to do is on some stocks, might not be all of them, but on some popular stocks, you might see some sentiment tools. Everybody is excited about this stock, or everybody is selling this stock, or this is the split between what the people who are buying or people who are selling. And therefore, it helps you know, all right, what are people thinking, or how are people thinking about this stock that I want to buy? So those are some things that we want to also come in with at this specific level. Also, I know someone asked about the cost. Our costs are very competitive in terms of looking around all the other options. I don't think there's too many of them that are charging just 1%. So, but again, there might be some features, or maybe if you have a certain amount of AUM assets with Hisa, then you might see some reduction in some of your fees. But we cannot start having those conversations without us first starting from the fundamentals. So I'm trying to balance the need to share information with also not maybe giving you, I don't want it to come across as we are over promising, or then we're telling you, okay, we're going to do this, and then it doesn't happen as quickly as you want it to. But our mode of operation is always give the users enough context to understand what we are doing, and then allow us time to actually roll out these changes. They say when you're trying to turn around a ship, you turn it around slowly, right? And so for those of you who were excited about this acquisition because of the changes that we might be able to bring to the table, those changes are still coming, but we're turning around a ship, and this is a 4-year-old product. And so we acquired it late last year. And if we're not, we have to be very deliberate. And some of those changes really, they take time. Before we even start making product changes, we have to make operational changes. We have to sit down with FIDA and say, okay, let's transfer this agreement. We have to sit down with the CMA, with the Capital Markets Authority, and say, okay, these are the approvals that we have already. These are the additional approvals we need, or these are the new entities that we're going to be operating with. Let's try and make sure that the regulator is actually okay with the things we want to do. And then we start the housekeeping part, get into the code base part. Then we start rolling out changes before you start seeing it on the user end. So it's taking a bit of time, but it doesn't mean we're not doing things. It just means that we're trying to make sure we sort of start from the ground floor and gradually build those changes up. So again, that is the context I wanted to introduce. And sorry if it means that we're kind of skipping the flow of how we are supposed to move. But I think some people have raised these points in the comment section, and I wanted everyone to kind of understand how we're thinking about it. Thank you.
Thanks, AK. I believe that's all on the engineering side. So back to you, Gertrude.
Thank you, Uche. Thank you, AK. Before you go, Uche, there was a question about in case a cybersecurity attack.
Oh, okay. All right. So the thing is, the application is really I can assure you of the infrastructure where the application is deployed is really secured. So there's nothing to worry about. It's it's on GCP basically, and on a Kubernetes cluster. So there's no need to worry about cyber attacks or anything of such.
Okay, now, thank you, Uche, once again. We have skipped a few questions, but I believe we can now move to the questions meant for the CEO and COO, most of which I believe we have mentioned. Over to you, Leah.
Thank you, Gertrude. So I'll start with the first one. What specifically have you done and are you working on to ensure a seamless user/customer experience while least interacting through the platform? So currently with the current app, what we are doing is an improved customer care. So for the customer experience, what we've done is we have Beverly, who's available to answer all your questions and to take care of all your concerns. For the user experience, what we are trying to do is solve all the bugs that come up and ensure that everything you bring up is solved. However, even in the new app that we've said that we are developing, it is one of the biggest concerns that we have, and it is one of the things that we've worked on solving, and that's why maybe the building is also taking a bit of time. So I believe that question has also been answered by Uche and Beverly as well. So I'll go on to the next question. In light of the current geopolitical global, US, China, Germany, etc., and the financial situation, what specific strategies have or are you are being put in place to foster growth in areas one can invest in. As Eke had mentioned, we are also trying to bring in more markets into Hisa with a new development. So we're trying to spread your investments more. So not only in the Kenyan stock market and the US stock market, so increasing the offerings that we have on Hisa, which should also help in fostering growth in investments, I believe, and also help you spread your risk. And at least it will also be able to capture people with different risk appetites. So we have features for all these, which will be mostly in the new app. So how will you moving forward as a platform, stroke service provider guarantee without fail efficiency in customer service with respect to every feature included on the platform? So for guaranteeing customer service, so what we've done is we've tried as much as possible to ensure that the app does not have downtime, now the new app that we are building. And even for the current app that we have, we are trying as much as possible to solve any issue that comes on. So as Uche said, it's not possible to have, sorry, Eke has raised his hand.
No, finish your point first, please.
Okay. So as Uche said, it's not possible for him to deploy all the changes all at once. So the changes have been taking place gradually so that we can be able to increase efficiency and ensure that all the downtimes on the app is being solved. But even we're also working on hiring more customer service providers so that we can have someone who will be able to answer your questions all the time and at least have 24/7 access to a customer service provider. Okay, you can go.
Yeah. And so I also wanted to add something because many of you as users, you've been with Hisa for a much longer time than even we as Rise, right? So you would remember or you would know that there were times when the service quality or the customer service engagement was higher. As at when we acquired last year, we actually realized that a lot of the team were no longer there because of the challenges that the company had dealt with. And so when we also returned, we had serious capacity issues, which we've now started to gradually build up. So for instance, Gertrude was pretty much the only person who was doing all the analysis and handling a lot of the content creation and management. And then the team was supporting, on different functions, but it was just a very few people, including just only Jackson sitting on the engineering side. So part of even what we've done even before these changes have started being made, is to try and bring in. So we brought in a few more analysts so that Gertrude has more help. We're bringing in some additional hands to support on the customer service side. We've brought in like 3 engineers to now support to make those changes. So we are gradually building this capacity back so that by the time we even start making changes, we now have a team. We have people who are trained and ready to now be, because you can't just bring in someone today and they are able to, do what Beverly does, right? So they need some time to train, to understand all the moving parts, to get comfortable with answering users' questions before then you start seeing them interacting with you. So again, it just buttresses my point that we are doing a lot behind the scenes. And I do want to commend the team that I met on ground because it's no matter what you build on the engineering side, if you don't have the people who understand both the customers and the products, you wouldn't be able to deliver great customer service. So that capacity is being built and they're already stepping up. Everybody on the team is working around the clock. And those of you who then saw from when we started last year to now, you probably would have seen an increase in responsiveness, right? So it might not be that all the issues are solved, but we're also trying to make sure that there's more hands available to answer your questions. So, but that's we'll keep doubling down on that. And also, when we start rolling out more changes, hopefully the issues will start reducing as well. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you, Eke. I'll take the next question. Why has apps efficiency not been improved? I believe we've answered this, saying that we're improving this gradually, and we are working on it. Then why buying and selling of the NSE stock is more complicated than buying the US stocks. So for the Nairobi Securities Exchange, there is more KYC that is required by the CMA. It's what is required by the Kenyan stock market, and it's the regulators who have put this in place. Although we are really working on trying to see how we can work around this and see how we can work on a reduced KYC so that we can make the process more efficient. Other than that, I believe the other hurdle might be the Nairobi Securities Exchange is not very volatile. So you might find that sometimes when you buy or you sell a stock, it might not reflect immediately. So this is just a volatility issue that is on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And it's something that we have to work with the NSE to currently try and improve so that there's more volumes going up and there's more activity on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. So can we manage to do daily email activity statements? I believe we are going to make statements available on the app, and you can put the period that you'd like to see your statements, if you'd like it daily, or you'd also like to see it for a certain period. I believe that is going to be available on the app. So I think that also answers the next questions of why statements are not uploaded in the app. We are working on solving this. I know it was available on the app, then there was a glitch on that. So we are working on fixing this feature so that they can be brought back on the app. So is there any plan on upgrading app to buy stocks from other African stock exchange? I believe AK has answered this question on the chat, and yes, there's plans to include other African stock exchanges on the new app. The next question, is it possible to add a technical analysis tool into the app? Yes. AK has also tackled that question. So I would like to know the Hisa app development roadmap and the general steps being taken to address customer service. That's issues with deposits, withdrawals, and issues with the buying and selling of stocks. So for the issues with deposits and withdrawals, I believe we are working on seeing whether we can be able to automate this process. So it's more of us working with FIDA to be able to automate this process for deposits and withdrawals to reflect instantly. But as for now, how it is, the deposit feature on the app, that is the direct deposit feature, has been fixed for the default wallet. So that is when you go to deposit for the US stocks, you'll get a prompt on your M-Pesa and the funds will reflect immediately. So for withdrawals, it's a process that takes 24 to 48 hours, depending on the time that your withdrawal has been placed. We are able to send your withdrawals within that time and ensure that there is no delays. However, for the FIB withdrawals that you have to send emails, we are working on a more efficient way of doing this and seeing whether there's a process in which we can be able to quicken that process and reduce the process of you having to send an email. So we are actively working on this and trying to improve this feature. So on the issues of buying and selling of stocks, I believe this is a settlement issue that Uche has been able to address. So we are also working on that. We've been working on that, and I believe it has been solved currently. And now when you buy or you sell a stock, the settlements are able to reflect immediately in your wallet. So if there's any issue with that or you experience any issue with that, just let us know and we're able to solve it immediately. So next question, should someone hire another person or company to monitor for him trade, especially long-term investment? I don't think that is a feature we have yet of having people watch on your long-term.
Maybe, Leah, I think what they mean to say, how that could change is when we add the money market funds, it could be easier for them to, invest in a particular sort of fund without them following on, each stock and how it's performing. So I think the money market fund will solve that at that point.
Okay. So
Like some sort of like managed portfolios.
yes, I believe that's actually what they mean.
Right. We'll take note of that so that when we're rolling out those money markets, we can we can try and figure out how it solves that particular question, right? But yeah, Eric, I agree with Eric.
So the other question is, how do you stabilize trade? So I believe this is also in reference to the settlements that have been taking long to reflect, and we have been working on that actively, and now it's solved. So the next question, please address what plans you have for Hisa app. We have been experiencing some frequent downtime of late, and we are trusting for a better looking UI that's also prompt in response. Yes, so for the new plans that we have for Hisa app, we are definitely working on an improved user experience and user interface as well. So as well as improved customer care, improved offerings on the app. So all these features have been addressed, and we're working on rolling that out. So next question, you're from Kenya. How can an outsider invest in Nairobi Securities Stock Exchange? Where can someone get details before he or she invest? So currently in the countries that also are also able to invest is East African countries, so mainly Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda. Outside that, the only issue might be the OTP might not be able to reflect. However, we are working on solving this so that you can be able to just download the app and be able to invest in the stock exchange from wherever you are. When it comes to details before he or she invest, we have provided a guideline on how to go about using Hisa. We have a whole playlist on that on our YouTube, as well as articles on this. But if there's more insights, I believe we do share out stocks to watch on. We do share out some investor sentiments, and we do have a community of investors where people are able to engage and talk about the stock market and how it's performing and what we expect to see.
Leah, sorry, I have a question just regarding the same. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak, probably haven't followed protocol.
Yes, you can go.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to ask about, when you're saying that those people outside Kenya cannot invest. So just to understand the mechanism of investing, ideally for those who are Kenyans or who are residents, is it that we offer you and tell you the specific counters that you'd like to trade in, then you go ahead as Hisa management to take these positions on our behalf, or we do it directly just through the platform? And the reason I'm asking this is just to understand the difference between myself as a Kenyan resident and somebody who's out there trying to get into a new market. I don't know if my question makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. So for you as a Kenyan citizen, what you're able to invest directly in the platform. So once you download the platform and you verified your account, you as yourself, you can go and see which stock you'd like to purchase, and it's available for you. You choose how much you'd like to put into the various company, and you are able to do that for yourself. For someone who's not in Kenya, the process is not different. The only issue is that they might not be able to receive the OTP message, which you receive first when you sign up. So that's the only difference that you have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I've seen Russian and Chinese investment securities. We've noted that down, and we'll see. So the other questions, are there any major invest avenues that do not require huge capital? So I do believe actually in stocks, in the US stock market, the least you can invest is $1, which is around 100 Kenya shillings or 120 thereof right now. So I do believe that one does not require huge capital, but we are also bringing on more investments that also do not require huge capital. So we've also noted that down. The other question, are there any major changes planned for the brokerage investment offering or fee structure? So for the fee structure, I believe our fees are very minimal. We only charge 1%. So I think that's very competitive, and it's a minimal fee. So for now, the fee will remain the same. But as AK said, for when you realize that your AUM is growing on Hisa, you might realize there's going to be reduced cost, but it's something that we are working on, and it's also going to be communicated to you. So are there any plans to change commission structures, transaction fees, or introduce new costs that investors should be aware of? No, we are not going to change commission structures or the transaction fees. It will still remain at 1%, and we are not going to introduce any new cost. And if anything like that was to come up in any new feature, we'd have to communicate that first. So do not be worried about that. How will you ensure compliance with changing financial regulation while maintaining investor trust? So we are working hand in hand with the CMA as well as with the NSC to ensure that we do remain as part of the financial regulations in Kenya, and as well as ensure that we are able to provide everything that the regulators require. So while maintaining investor trust, it is by communications, ensuring that we communicate regularly with you guys, and also ensuring that we can be able to plan more town halls where you can be able to engage with us and ensure that all your questions are answered. So talk to us about market downturns and liquidity risk. How are we protected? I believe AK answered that, talking about FAIDA. Yeah. So the investment regulatory framework in Kenya changes ever so often. As far as we have witnessed, two of your most recent partners, FAIDA and Ingot, have increasingly distance themselves from your operation. How will you ensure compliance with changing financial regulations and maintaining investor trust? So for FAIDA and Ingot, we are still active partners, and we have not distanced ourselves anyway from either of us, or neither have they distanced themselves from us. So for FAIDA and for Ingot, we are actively in our partnership, and FAIDA is our custodial bank, and we have all the funds that come through Hisa. As you can see, you do receive a prompt, or you do receive your withdrawals from FAIDA Investment Bank. And for Ingot, even the people who partake in trading of the commodities, we are still in an active partnership, and we are still together in this. I hope that answers that question. Shall we be treated to a luncheon or an official meet and greet with the new team? Yes, we are working on that as well, to have a physical town hall where you can come meet us and have build a community around investors. Okay, next question. What's the envisioned future of Hisa? How will Hisa be incorporated into RiseVest? What products of RiseVest are being offered to Hisa investors? RiseVest does not have good reviews online. How are you addressing them now that Hisa is also experiencing negative reviews online? There is suddenly unexplained delays on Hisa, cash deposits, withdrawals, stock sales, and buys, etc. So I'd let AK take that question.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize I was still muted. So yeah, I realized that. So we operate in many jurisdictions, and I can tell you for free that the business we're doing, it's a very sensitive marketplace, right? So there's a lot of things that a lot of experiences we've had over the years, that when you see some negative news, it lingers online more than the positive ones. And unfortunately, there's really no easy way of, you know, changing that or solving that, because it's kind of the nature of the business we're in. However, here's what we've known over the years. We've been around as Rise for the last 5 years, and last year was some of our best operational years, right? Last year was our best results since we started, our best growth year since we started. Users are incredibly satisfied. But those mostly satisfied users are not going to go online and drop comments. You tend to see a lot of comments on the negative side. And there's hardly any business like ours that would operate for as quickly and grow as fast as we have, that might not have one or two negative incidents or negative news. And it's almost always is not, it doesn't represent the full picture. So in Hisa's case, is also part of the reason that we even made the acquisition because before we acquired Hisa, we checked, on social media, we checked the comments that people were making. We saw online that okay, there were some good news when the product launched, and then there is a lot of like negative sentiments or negative comments. And so we try to go back and say, okay, what is the facts and what is, just the nature of this business. And so when we evaluated the product, we evaluated the people, we evaluated the opportunity, we realized, okay, this is pretty great as a company. And so our job is to sort of come in, deal with some of the negativity, but get the results back on track, get the product back on track, get the users happy once again. As long as we're doing that, over the long term, those negative news will take care of themselves. We've not, and there's also a thing where it's kind of a stages by stages thing, right? When you start out, your focus is just on the fundamentals of your business. Let's get those right first. Let's get the growth engine going, just like we have on Rise. You can always go back later and try and do all the PR and try and clean things up and try and push sentiments the right direction. But as long as your fundamentals are in place and your business is doing great, those things will take care of themselves. So that's been our approach for Rise, and it's also our approach for Hisa, which is get to the fundamentals. We'll make all these changes, we'll roll out the new products, we'll start seeing growth, and users are going to be like when users are happy with their experience, they are seeing their funds grow, they are liking the journey, then we can switch around and start spending more time on the PR elements. There are some people who have the best online footprints, but then the product or the offerings is not where it should be. So I'm not saying that that's a good thing, that maybe based on where Hisa is and then the negative sentiment that is, it's bound to happen. And our job is to kind of look at all those things as feedback, as pointers to there's work to do, and then let's do that work. So that's our approach, and the most important thing for us, and we've tried to actually ask our customers when we on Rise, when we ask our customers, what is your experience? You find out that 80% of them are like, oh, this is wonderful. Many of them have said Rise has been the best thing to happen to our financial journey over the last how many years. However, when you see some headlines and all, you might not really think that that's what's going on, and that will be fixed. So on Hisa now, what we are realizing is a lot of the negative sentiment is well deserved because, yeah, we look at the app too. We know that these issues are there. We know that there's a lot of work that we need to do. We want to focus and do those things, roll out these changes, fix all the problems. It might take us another maybe say 6 months to get all of those things sorted. Then we spend the remaining 6 months, investing in our PR, pushing more marketing, trying to correct some of the negative impressions. So that's what I would say on that. It's not a perfect answer, but our job is to kind of focus on the fundamentals first. If we were not great at what we do, I don't think we would have done the last 5 years, and we will not have the thousands of users who are commenting to us every day that, oh, Rise has been super helpful. They just might not go and say that on. But if you look online, you will still see people saying it. It's just that it's not as loud as the negative part. So that's what we want to do. We want to just close our eyes to those negative sentiments for now and just fix the products on Hisa, get the growth going, serve our users well, and then over time, the sentiments will correct or catch up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, AK. The other questions, I believe we've answered them. I think there's one question I've seen on the chat of will we have to trade Nigerian stocks? So have to is not the thing. Have to is not, but access, we can give you access to that, but you don't have to. You'll just have access to it and you can choose whether you'd like to do it or not. So I believe with that we've answered all the other questions. Oh, there's one on whether we plan to introduce crypto trading in our platform. Yeah, we will have to check with the regulators on that to ensure that is allowed, but we've noted that down as well. So thank you. I believe I've answered the questions.
Okay, now I believe we have answered most of the questions. For the general questions, Leah, would you like to go through them? But mainly they are a repetition of what we've covered. Yes, Ike, there's a question on someone who's asking for a job at the bottom. And yes, we will share a recording of this meeting next week.
There's an interesting question that someone asked, which is, where should we be looking to invest to create generational wealth? And I want to answer that question by saying that the part of the thing that keeps us, well, let me speak for myself. Part of the thing that makes me excited about what we can do as Hisa is when we look at the opportunities and we realize that there's a lot of opportunity for wealth creation, both abroad and at home in Kenya and even in Nigeria and other parts of Africa. And so our thesis is that the new products we're going to build and the new focus of the company is going to be to make those opportunities more accessible. I know it sounds like a cliche, but let me give you an example. When the first time well, it wasn't the first time I visited Kenya, but the first time after the acquisition, that I was speaking with Leah and we were getting to know each other, and and the rest of the team, we had a conversation about Java House, and we were talking about potentially how can we get in touch with the management or figure out a way to make it more, to either get them on NSE, right, or figure out a way to make companies like that more accessible to the Kenyan retail investors. And so we had a conversation. Leah told me some people she knew on Java House, and we kind of thought through like how could we approach this, and some of the challenges or the difficulties in the way of achieving that. Well, as of last week, we then heard that a private equity company backed by Dangote, the Nigerian Dangote that most of us know, just acquired Java House, and it was in the news because, again, to me, it was a validation that, okay, the value that we were pointing out, we're not the only ones that were seeing this. And so what I'm trying to show you in that instance is that there's a lot of opportunities both in the NSC and outside the NSC that we still can unlock through the work we're doing at Hisa. We're just getting started. We had a meeting with NSC operations team, and we're having a conversation around how do we further democratize access to these opportunities, right? So the job that we want to do, once the fundamentals are fixed, we can now start setting our sights on how do we make opportunities more accessible. But to be more specific to where do we see opportunities, we see opportunities in Kenya's private sector. We see opportunities in some like SME opportunity, like SMEs, and being able financing SMEs, of being able to get access to invest in some SMEs. So whether it's things like we have this in Nigeria, we have like an alternative board for smaller companies to list in order to be, to go public with a lower threshold. We see opportunities like now everyone talks about the US market and it's still very exciting. We're also starting to see there are some sectors in Europe where, because of the valuations and all that, there are some opportunities there that might be compelling. So we're having conversations like how can we then make those markets accessible on Hisa? How can we make some money market opportunities accessible on Hisa? How can we then support the NSC to expand access and make it easier or simplify KYC rules so that people can invest, whether diasporans investing in Kenya or Kenya people investing in other markets, right? So those are some conversations that we're just beginning to have, but all of it will translate to a point where if you're a Hisa user, give it between now and, to be more realistic, between now and September of this year, which seems like a long time, but it will be close to the vision, which is you can be in HISA and have access to Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Europe, US, Asia, and access not just equities, but also commodities, um, private equity or private companies, credits, money market funds, and just that diversity of options. So HISA had already started this conversation when they partnered with Ingot to add commodities and CFDs. But we want to then get back to the drawing board, figure out what are all the options that, someone asked about crypto, but we want to make sure that whatever we do, it's aligned with giving people access to long-term wealth and is also aligned with making sure that the regulators approve of what we're doing and we're supporting the long-term goal of making the Kenyan markets and other African exchanges more liquid. So I'm telling us this because those are the things that made us know, despite the issues that surround the HISA product right now, many of them which were already there before we came in, we already know that we'll get past all of this and we're looking way beyond them at the possibilities that exist ahead. So that's where we're going. And sometimes when you start making changes, initially the experience will get worse because things are breaking and you're trying to make sure that, so you might get a bit worse. But eventually we're going to figure it out and then we're going to get into the real fun stuff. So that's what I want to kind of say before I head out. This has been a great conversation from my end. I know that the meeting is not entirely over, but I do have a hard stop. However, I will be physically in Kenya for at least one or two of our physical town hall meetings, along with some other of my team members, both whether on the US end or the Nigerian end. But secondly, this will not be the only engagement we have with you. We'll have multiple conversations like this. And hopefully for the next one, time zone will permit me to then be able to actually, show face and actually talk directly with many more of you. But we've taken a lot of feedback from here and we're going to go work on every one of them. So thank you guys very much. And thank you to Gertrude. Thank you to Leah and Beverly. And thank you to the team. Eric, I'll reach out to you right after this call as well. But I have to sign out now because I do have a physical meeting to attend and I have to go head out for it. But thank you guys so much for the time.
Thank you, Ike. Thank you, everyone, for the question on jobs. Whenever there are openings on the company, we will be sharing them, you, the community, first. But from that, Eric, do you have any last words before we end it?
Nope. Thanks everyone for joining. And appreciate for taking the time, to listen to us and ask those particular questions. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you everyone for making the time to join us this afternoon. Any last words from Claire and the team?
For me, it's just to thank you all for coming and looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Yes.
Okay. Beverly?
Nothing much, just to add on to what Leah said. Thank you for everyone who took the time to join us today. We can't wait to see you next time physically. And yeah, if you have any inquiries, just reach out to us via email or WhatsApp.
Okay, yes. Just to add on, our customer service numbers are 0726999911. Our customer service email is hello@hisa.co. So feel free to reach out to us and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Bye, everyone.